Hello, everyone. Do you own an Audi S4 in the 2020-ish range or, newer? And you have to do some rear suspension work? Then you're definitely going to want to watch this video. This car actually needs all the upper control arms, the lateral link, the toe arm, a knuckle, and a wheel bearing because it was in an accident. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through how to get that all apart. So as you can see right here, the one upper control arm there is severely bent. This is the other upper control arm right here. You're going to have a 16 millimeter bolt going through that to hold the sway bar link on. That hex bolt that you need to take out of the axle is going to be a 19 millimeter. As you can see, I have just about all my parts there. I am missing one arm at this point in the video. So here we go. We're going to take our impact and that 19 mil. We're going to give her the beans. Shouldn't take too much. Get it nice and loose. And then what we're going to do is thread that bolt back into the axle a little bit and just give the axle a shove back out of the knuckle there so it makes it easier taking the knuckle off. Because what we're going to start with first is taking the ABS sensor out. It is a hex key. I believe it's like a 7 or 8 millimeter. I don't remember offhand. So you're going to take the bolt out for that. And then you should be able to pull the ABS sensor out. If you can't, then, you may want to look up a video on how to get a stuck ABS sensor out. I can't really get into that right now with this, but that's where it goes on the back side of the knuckle there. The left hole is for the bolt, the right hole is for the sensor. Now, also right over here, once I get some light on it, you'll be able to see we have a 10 millimeter bolt there. That holds the bracket for all the wiring for the electronic parking brake, your ABS sensor, and your brake wear sensor too. I believe this has on that side. What you're going to need to do is get that 10 millimeter bolt out now that you have the ABS sensor out, and you'll be able to then, after you get that 10 out, it's, dealer's choice here. I chose to use a 10 millimeter wrench. I think we're going to skip over a little of this here in a second. But once you get that 10 millimeter out, you're going to want to take and flip that whole assembly of wiring back towards the back, just, so it's out of your way. Just watch you don't kink or break the brake hose or any of the connections or your ABS sensor or anything like that. You really just need it out of your way. I've already taken the caliper and the rotor off. It's pretty self-explanatory. The caliper I've propped up on the top of the knuckle at the moment, and now I'm taking the backing plate off. You're going to take the same T30 Torx bit that you used to get the screw out of the rotor, and you're going to take the 4 screws out of the backing plate. I did not need to use the impact part of this. I just did not feel like getting a different tool, so I did it by hand. Now, as I was trying to find out information on how to change these upper arms, like the best approach, I could not find any good videos on YouTube that actually showed anything to this extent. So if you're going to tackle this job, I would suggest sticking around. It is a little bit dry at times, but I try to keep it light. But I also want to teach you something. So now I'm going to get a hook and actually hook the brake caliper up to the top of the shock mount, or wherever you can, honestly, because there's not much to hang it onto. And you're also going to next need a 12 point, or no, I'm sorry, we're going to take the cover off the trailing arm here now. It's just 2 little clips on the side there on the inside. Once you pop them loose, you're able to then just kind of pop the plastic piece off that arm. Now, the front bolt for that is also 16 millimeter. They are 6 point. All the ones on the knuckle are 12 point 16 millimeter, except for the bottom control arm. That's going to be an 18 millimeter 6 point with a nut on the back. Now you can see there was a lot of tension in the suspension as I was taking it apart. So I'm just basically right now, I'm just trying to figure out what I needed to do to actually make this job go well and easy. According to my boss, it's supposed to take somewhere approximately about 5 hours to change these upper control arms. With doing it on the lift, I think I was able to squeeze it in a little under that. I've chopped this down quite a bit to get it to where it's tolerable to sit there and watch it. So what we're going to do now, once we got that arm loose, we'll kind of just droop it out of the way. And then we're going to proceed with taking all the bolts out of the knuckle. You want to be careful because with that bent arm, everything's under tension. Right now, the knuckle's actually right up against the shock tube. It's kind of hard to see in the video right now, but it is. Trust me, I was there. Right now, I'm taking the bolt out of the toe arm. Now we're going to take this other upper control arm bolt out. As you can see, it kind of jumped out of the way. We're going to take the front upper control arm bolt out. And then we're going to grab our 18s and get the lower bolt out of the lower control arm. I did not realize there was a nut on the back side at first. I thought it was threaded into the knuckle. So now you see I'm taking the right approach and taking the nut off the bolt. And then you're just going to kind of push it through a little bit. And if you get a open end wrench behind the head of the bolt while you're trying to extract it with your impact gun, like I'm doing here, it'll make it nice and easy for you to slide that out. But be careful. You don't want to just pull it all right out. I did leave that other front upper control arm bolt in a little bit. What I'm going to do now is hold on to the knuckle and take that bolt out the rest of the way because I don't want this to fall on my foot. Now, you can do this in a driveway with your car properly jacked up and using a floor jack to do what I'm going to be doing to manipulate the suspension to make everything fit and go into place. So we're going to pull this 18 mil out, and now we have the knuckle off. Now, as you can see, I have to get at those bolts in the very back there. I think I'm going to point to them if I could get a good camera right up there. But the issue is they put the bolt in such a situation or orientation rather that you cannot physically get those bolts out with the subframe attached to the car. That's what I learned through all of this big whole process of changing this. You cannot get the trailing arm bolt out because it hits the filler neck. You cannot get those two rear bolts out. So what you're going to want to do is actually take the two bolts out that hold the subframe in. The front one, well, I guess we're going to take another peek at this. I had already gone ahead and installed some of the parts at this point that I had at my disposal. I was still waiting on parts at this point. So now what we're going to do back here is where that bent arm went into. This front one is the 16 for that trailing arm. And the front subframe bolt, that's a 21 millimeter. I do have a jiggle jack under that. You kind of need to, because you need to be able to push it up and down once you get situated. But I did eventually let all the pressure off the subframe so I could pull down on it a hair to get the bolts out for those upper control arms. So at this point, we have a new bolt, all new hardware and everything I'm using on this. That's going to go up into that control arm, like I said before. We got our new bolts in the knuckle. We got the knuckle on. Now, I did not tighten these completely yet because I do need to put a load on the suspension. I have the bolt in the axle. just to keep that in place. The 18's back in, and I'm going to show you where that nut is right now. It's on the back side of the control arm there. All right, and then you have another 16 millimeter bolt and nut on the control arm, or I'm sorry, the sway bar itself. So now what we're going to do, this back bolt is, I believe, an 18 millimeter. It was either one was an 18, one was a 16. So either way, you're going to need both sizes. We're going to go ahead and get that back bolt in. And then what I'm going to do is actually loosen up the toe adjustment and manipulate the knuckle to where that bolt is going to line up and make it easy for me to thread it in by hand. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting a socket on the eccentric bolt and loosen it up a little bit. I had it snug from when we pulled the car in. And then as you see in the video here, the knuckle does move slightly in and out. And now I'm in a position where I'm going to be able to just thread that in right by hand, which that helped out a lot. I don't like to chance cross-threading new parts, especially on body shop vehicles. This was not one of our customers' personal vehicles. This was for a body shop that we do work for. So with that being said, I can't damage any of these parts. Got to be careful. So now that we've got that situated, what we're going to do now is just snug up that outer bolt, go around, make sure all our outer bolts are secure. You don't want them tight because the bushings need to be able to sit at the right position once there's a load on the suspension. So now what I'm going to do is get those subframe bolts started again. And actually, I think I put the subframe right all the way up at this point. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass to get at the bolts in the back with the subframe all the way up, but if you move the knuckle up and down a little bit, you could get them tight with still having somewhat of a load on the suspension. I couldn't quite put as much of a load as I would have liked to on it, but it was better than not putting any load at all on it. So we're gonna zip that 21 back up in there. It took about 3 ugga-duggas. If you're a mechanic or mechanically inclined, you know what an ugga-dugga is. You don't gotta send it to the moon. Couple little 2-tree ugga-duggas. Now I'm in the process of tightening the rear subframe bolt. That one's an 18 millimeter, by the way. So here I'm putting a load on the suspension so I could tighten down the rest of the bolts in the back. Now the rest of this is kind of going to be just clear cut opposite of what you did in the beginning. There's not much I could really tell you here, so let's jam out to something and just enjoy the rest of the video for a little bit, and we'll catch back up with you towards the end. Well, hey everyone, welcome back there. That was a nice little beat that I found. Let me know what you think in the comments. So we're just about done here. We're getting pretty close to the home stretch. We're putting the backing plate back on. And after that, what we're going to do is put the rotor on, I believe, is what I did next. We'll see here in a minute. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Now, one thing you do want to remember when you're putting this backing plate back on, don't like tighten one bolt down or one screw down and not get the other three like started first. Always start everything first. That way you know it's all going to go into the right hole and you won't have any issues by tightening one down and then it not lining up, and then you got to go back, loosen it up. It's just a giant pain. Like, much easier to do it that way. Now, we weren't putting new brakes and rotors on it. They were in good enough condition, just what the insurance was paying for the accident. So I am going to do this person a solid. Now, here's a very important thing. When using this material, what I'm about to use is called anti-seize. If you're not familiar with anti-seize, you touch it one spot, it gets everywhere on you. So be very careful. Keep that in mind. One thing you want to make sure you do not, I repeat, do not put anti-seize on your wheel studs or your wheel bolts or inside your lug nuts when you put your wheels off and on. This stuff has a metallic compound in it. Now, there's a copper one, and I believe this is aluminum or nickel or something like that. I'm not really sure what's in this particular anti-seize. It's made by Helicoil, the one I'm using at the moment. But over time, with heat and pressure, the metallic components in this anti-seize tend to actually bond the threads, and they will cause issues for you in the long run. I know people swear by it. No, use some sort of spray lubricant, something that's not going to be having a metallic compound in it whatsoever. It's okay between the flange of the hub and the backside of the rotor. That will prevent any kind of corrosion kind of build up in there and keep you from having to beat the ever living hell out of the rotor to get it off and potentially ruining your wheel bearing there. So we got that situated. I'm being extremely careful not to get this crap all over me or the car. Now we're going to put the rotor screw in. Now this is the tapered one. The other 4 screws that are a T30 are a cap head screw. That's the ones for the backing plate. The rotor takes the tapered one. So, just remember that when you're putting everything together. Now, if you guys and girls, whoever you may be, would like to see more videos like this, please don't forget to let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about Audis. Do you like them, hate them? I kind of dig this one. It had a pretty sweet exhaust on it. I did try to get video footage of it, but my mic dropped on me to the point where I had no battery left on it. And I was unfortunately unable to get some audio of the exhaust. So maybe next time, if it comes in for anything, I doubt I'll see it again, but it may. Who knows? It's a 2020, and I believe it has the I-line package. I'm not 100% familiar with all the different Audi packages, but this was a pretty sweet car. Had red leather interior, had a nice big paddle, anodized aluminum paddle shifters in it. Oh, it was a sweet looking car. I wish I could have got a chance to actually get some better interior footage and stuff, but I didn't want to invade the person's privacy and put their vehicle on blast on Facebook here. So, we're working with what we got. Oh, and shout out to Chris Johnson there. You guys could see his contact info. That's my Snap-on dealer, a really great guy. takes great care of us. Uh, yeah, I can't complain. I mean, obviously the prices are astronomical for Snap-on, but I don't buy all Snap-on. As you saw, that one ratchet I had, you could get it at Harbor Freight. And I'll tell you what, I have used that thing for a million different jobs now that I never thought I would have used that ratchet for. It is well worth the $16 or whatever it was, 17, 18 bucks. Uh, I originally had bought that ratchet specifically for taking out GM uh, V8 oil pressure sending units. They're at the top and at the back of the manifold, and it's very tough to get a ratchet in there properly. So now we're getting ready to put the ABS sensor back in. Just, don't cross thread the bolt or screw, whatever you want to call that one, and make sure you don't break the harness and everything. So we're going to get that in, and then we're going to get the bracket back on. I don't believe I bolted that down yet. Now, the brake caliper itself, the mounting hardware for the bracket, you don't need to take the whole caliper apart. All you need to do is take the mounting bracket off. That's 18 millimeter bolts. That's all you need to remember. Use a box end wrench to break them free, and take, like, I don't know, a short 18 ratchet wrench, something like that, Husky, gear wrench, whatever, it doesn't matter, and zip them out. And then you can pull the whole caliper off as one unit instead of sitting there screwing around with all different pieces, brake pads falling out, all that good stuff. Now, I'm not giving you a great view right now, but I'm giving you a lot of valuable information here on this particular car. Now that we've got everything all back together, you can see everything's lining up a lot straighter already from my view. Now, I understand you may not be able to see it from your point of view in the video, so here's a little outro with the clip of the exhaust.